Ladies and gentlemen, for how long will William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza government do this? And will they sustain it? Earlier today, ugly scenes were actually witnessed in Narok town. The police blocked Raila Odinga and Azimio brigades from passing through town. I think in this century, that's something which is outdated. Raila Odinga and Azimio brigades had attended some function in Narok County, and immediately that function ended, Raila Odinga and his convoy then left for town because I think Raila Odinga wanted to watch Arsenal. You know, he loves Arsenal. And then along the way, they found a police truck, that Mariam, parked on the road. They could not move. And Raila Odinga was actually forced out of his vehicle to come and ask why they were being blocked. And for me, that scene is something which should never be allowed to be witnessed by Kenyans in the 21st century. But because in politics nothing happens out of mere coincidence, I want us to analyze why William Ruto or Rigathi Gachagua or whoever in government decided to block Raila Odinga from passing through town. What was their fear? Before we do that, I want you guys to watch this scene before we proceed.
Hello. Hello. Tuko live hapo. Tuko live. Baba. Kimya. He's there. Mwambie boss apige. OSPD. OSPD. Your Excellency, why are you sitting down? Very big profession. We are going home. You think this country belongs to the president? I am a former prime minister of this country. You cannot look at because it's a president. What is this? You cannot tell me this is a highway. Procession is a highway. And you cannot block somebody like my because the people are blocking town.
Why don't you escort us?
Just apologize to the people.
So you can escort us to town. You go ahead of us before you escort us. Nyinyi mkwe mbele, stop. You just bring it to town. It is okay. You can leave.
And we're just passing through.
Okay. And you can head, then we follow you.
And we've
petition town?
Okay.
Yes. Sawa. That's okay. We can go back.
So you ought to have apologized for that.
No. It's not an apology.
Nilisema kama mbaya ni mbaya. Simu nilijitokeza kabisa. Sasa, mko tayari? Mko tayari? Wakati inakuja, sasa tulisema tuongee. Tukaweka pale timu inaongozwa na Kalonzo Musyoka, ambaye wanaanza kuongea huko. Tumesema tunaona vile itatoka. Mambo tumepeleka swala nyeti tumeweka. ni mambo ya uwazi wa uhuru, yani demokrasia kwa upande ya uchaguzi.
Now, what's your honest opinion about that particular incident? Because for me, that's something that should be condemned by even some of the diehards of William Ruto. Why should they do that? Because you always accuse Raila, they always accuse Raila of organizing demonstrations, so you doing what? But what can you say about this particular incident? The other day you saw a member of parliament attacking the police. Nothing happened to him. But why would a Kenyan, forget about Raila Odinga, he was just part of the convoy, why should they block Kenyans from interacting with Kenyans? So for me, I've figured out why William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza were trying to block Raila Amolo Odinga. Before we get into all those, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. And without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to dive in. Why do you think Kenya Kwanza government decided to block unprovoked Raila Odinga's convoy from passing through Narok? Number one, these guys wanted to provoke Raila Odinga. There's something which Raila Odinga is doing, and it's not sitting well with Kenya Kwanza. You know, William Ruto had actually embarked on nationwide tours to sell whatever they're doing in the Republic of Kenya. And then Raila Odinga began now countering William Ruto's moves. William Ruto was in Busia, Raila Odinga went to Busia. And for the first time, I'm 100% sure that Raila Odinga is getting his communications right. And I'm going to explain that in a separate video. Then they were also in Vihiga. Raila Odinga then was in Vihiga. Of course, they were in Kajiado. Raila Odinga also went to Kajiado and countered him. William Ruto was also in Narok. Raila Odinga went to Narok to counter. I think these moves by Raila Odinga is not sitting well with Kenya Kwanza. They just want Ruto to go to these Raila Odinga strongholds because, of course, William Ruto is keen on Raila Odinga strongholds. He expects to go to those strongholds without Raila Odinga going back to counter. So basically what they're trying to do is to provoke Raila Odinga and their team to see how they were going to react. Because, you know, sometimes you provoke. You see, Uhuru Kenyatta used to provoke Ruto a lot. He would provoke Ruto to see how Ruto would react. Then he would disappear, provoke Ruto, Ruto react. So probably these guys just wanted to provoke Raila Odinga and their team. So that's number one. Number two, if you ask me, the strategy was simple. Because this event was outside town, and the residents, especially the Narok town, had realized that Raila Odinga was going to pass there. The information I have was that the residents of Narok town had planned to block Raila Odinga's convoy. And that's why Raila Odinga never used now his chopper, because he came via chopper. He then decided to use the route because he's a politician. He had gathered what these guys were planning to do. So he had planned to pass through town. So these guys didn't want Raila Odinga to access the supporters, because by Raila Odinga accessing supporters without any prior plans, and the town was going to erupt, it was going to send bad signals to them. The Raila Odinga still controls town, and that's something which they can never allow to happen. So basically, the strategy was simple: try provoke Raila Odinga, and also ensure that he doesn't access town. And because that police officer, just a junior police officer, could not stop Raila Odinga, he was, when I listened to him, I think he was understanding. He was just a guy who was just given some instructions. He didn't even know what to do, how to deal with Raila Odinga. So for me, of course, Raila Odinga, the team told him, okay, as we are passing through town, you can let your vehicle be in front of us, then we move around. Number three, in my view, there is fear in William Ruto's camp that Raila Odinga's popularity is currently on the rise. You know, William Ruto is the president of the Republic of Kenya, and he has access to intelligence report. And the intelligence report is telling him that despite of the fact that he's been leading some onslaught against Raila Odinga on Raila Odinga's stronghold, Raila Odinga's popularity is still on the rise. And therefore, we do want a situation where Raila Odinga is prevented or stopped from accessing or maybe discussing any politics with his supporters. And also tend to think that probably someone somewhere just wanted to show who is in power. And that's why I want to remind Ruto and I want to remind Rigathi Gachagua that if there's something which they ought to have learned from the last general election, is that power is fluid, power is fickle, power is temporary, power is something which comes and go. And they should actually learn from what happened in Gabon just the other day, where the president was so powerful. Then the next day, he was pleading with his own people to make noise. He then became powerless. Power is temporary. Even if Ruto were to complete his 10 years, after that, where will he be? Out of power. Even if Rigathi were to take over after that, again, after 10 years, Rigathi Gachagua will be out of power. Even if Mudavadi were to take over after that, again, what will happen? He will be powerless. So the truth of the matter is that power is temporary. So you should not misuse power. If Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua never learned that lesson, then they should visit a gentleman called Fred Matiang'i, who was so powerful. Today, cannot even leave his house. They should go and consult a gentleman called Karanja Kibicho, who was so powerful. Today, cannot even leave his house. They should also consult Uhuru Kenyatta, who was the most powerful president of the Republic of Kenya. Today, Uhuru Kenyatta and his family, their farm are being raided and they cannot do anything. So Ruto, Rigathi, they need to learn that power is temporary, power is fluid. And the sad part of it, I'm not sure whether all these things are happening under the instruction of the young man from Karachuonyo, who is the principal secretary. Because that's what people are now saying here. That is the one is being used to frustrate Raila Odinga. It would be very bad politics for Raila Molo if these things are happening with his knowledge. If they are happening without his knowledge, then it would be okay. With his knowledge, young man needs to figure out, he needs to learn from history of the people, especially from our side here, who held those positions and how they are doing currently. I also tend to think that maybe Kenya Kwanza were keen, or they were trying to gauge the reaction of Raila Odinga supporters, especially those in Narok. How can Narok react? How was Narok going to react with the news that Raila Odinga and his convoy had actually been stopped from accessing Narok town? So maybe they just wanted to gauge that. I don't want to rule out that. And lastly, I'm also 100% sure that the move by Raila Odinga recently to start going and try to counter William Ruto's moves is not sitting well with Kenya Kwanza. So they don't want Raila Odinga to continue with those counter strategy of trying to follow wherever Ruto goes to explain himself. I don't know what you think, but for me, it's not very good news. It's a sad day, if you ask me, for the Republic of Kenya. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.